it real.
Greetings, Internet people. You're tuned into the Keep It Real RN channel. My name is Craig, and I'll be your host. Today, I'm doing a response video to Nurse Nacole and her video about hourly rounding and HCAHPS Pitfalls. I'm going to leave a link to the original video down in the description so that you can see it for yourself if you haven't seen it already. For those of you who have never heard of HCAHPS, HCAHPS stands for Hospital Consumer Assessment of Healthcare Providers and Systems. The HCAHPS survey rates the patient experience. The HCAHPS survey asks the patient questions in the following domains. Those 8 domains are communication with doctors, communication with nurses, responsiveness of hospital staff, pain control, communication about medication, cleanliness of the hospital environment, discharge information, overall hospital rating, and the likelihood that you'll recommend that hospital to your family, friends, and acquaintances. The results of this survey have a direct impact on hospital reimbursement. A high HCAHPS score or highly rated survey makes the CEO very happy. The reason why the CEO is happy about good HCAHPS scores is because good HCAHPS scores result in higher reimbursement and results in him having a thicker wallet. Since the CEO cares about HCAHPS surveys, the you-know-what rolls downhill. So the chief nursing officer also cares about HCAHPS surveys. The nurse managers care about HCAHPS surveys. And the managers want you to care about HCAHPS surveys to the point where at some institutions they take it to the extreme that nurses get disciplined or even fired for low HCAHPS survey scores, even if they're for things that are beyond their control. As a knee-jerk reaction to the HCAHPS survey and its impact it has on hospital reimbursement, a lot of hospitals throughout the nation have adopted a trend, a fad that seems to be sweeping the nation called hourly rounding. Now, I did some homework on this hourly rounding thing, and some hospitals take it to the extreme, where you're required to document it on some flow sheet every hour. Some hospitals have gone as far as to script what the nurse must say when they're doing their hourly rounding. And at the end of it all, must tell the biggest lie in America. Is there anything else? I have the time. I have the time. There's never enough hours in the day, ever. Be that as it may. I saw a PowerPoint that was online as part of my homework for this video. And this PowerPoint was about customer service and HCAHPS, and it was about hourly rounding. I'm assuming that this was shown to all the nurses in this institution was from a hospital somewhere in Oklahoma. But as part of the hourly rounding, when you did your hourly rounding, they had these 4 things that you were supposed to address with your hourly rounding. They were called the 4 Ps. And at this hospital, the 4 Ps of the hourly rounding were pain, position, pottying, and possessions. Now, I did some research, and other hospitals had 4 Ps, but this hospital took the cake. When their 4 Ps were pain, position, pottying, and possessions. Now, I think we're all pretty vigilant about pain control. And I have no problem with that. Positioning? Well, I'm guessing when you do your hourly rounding, you're doing it by yourself. And if you're a patient that I can position by myself, the chances are good you could probably position yourself. Because there's not much I can do for you by myself. If you're incapable of positioning yourself, I might be able to put a pillow here or there, but you got to be able to move your whole body yourself. If I'm the only one in the room, because I'm not breaking my back without a helper or two or three or four or whatever it takes. So my back is the moneymaker. Pottying. I find it hard to believe that one adult came up with this, or even a committee of adults came up with pottying as one of the 4 P's. I mean, when's the last time you used the word pottying with another adult? It's embarrassing. I would be embarrassed for any nurse that was forced to use the word potty, or that even said the word pottying in front of me if I was a patient. I'd be, come on. Now, there are other hospitals that refer to it as personal hygiene, and that's okay. But this particular hospital in their PowerPoint had it listed as pottying. And the last of the 4 P's was possessions. And I'm guessing that means making sure that the box of Kleenex is here, and that the glass of water is there, and that their iPhone is here, and that their iPad is there. You know the type. Now let's do the math on this hourly rounding thing. Now, I work in an ICU. And like Nurse Nacole said, it's just in the course of doing my job, I'm in the room more than I'm out of the room. And it's like, so if the hospital wanted me to document hourly rounding working in an ICU, what's the point of that? When, like she said, just in the course of all the documentation that you do, in order to do it, you had to be in the room. But I'm thinking more of like the general care floors here, or the telemetry floors, of which I have been privileged to have to float to on a rare occasion. And I'll tell you, I am glad that I don't do it on a regular basis, because I feel for those of you who do. And when it comes to hourly rounding on a patient care floor, the math does not add up. The hospital I used to work at, a light load was considered 6 patients. So we'll use that as the example just because the math is easy. If you have 6 patients and you round on them every hour, and if they all get equal amounts of time, that's 10 minutes. That does not include the trips to the supply room. That does not include the trips to the Pyxis to get meds. That does not include the phone calls from the family members, doctors, various departments, etc., etc., etc. So it's really less than 10 minutes. Because you figure at least every hour you have 10 minutes worth of interruptions. That unexpected call light that comes on. That unexpected bed change you have to do. The coworker who asks you to come and help position as one of the 4 P's the patient they can't position themselves. So you're not just spending time with your own patients, you're also spending some of that time with other people's patients. So it's actually less than 10 minutes per patient per hour. And some patients require more time than that, and some require less. There are some patients that are sick enough that they probably should be checked on more than once an hour. There are some patients that don't need to be checked every hour. And to take that discretion away from the nurse takes away one of the cornerstones of nursing, in my opinion, which is called critical thinking. When you use critical thinking, you're going to spend more time, you're going to check on more often the sicker patient, the more needy patient. Your patients are going to be ranked in a hierarchy of acuity, which is the way it should be. But that doesn't bid well for good HCAHPS scores, because the person who's low acuity is not getting waited on. That person, if they're not getting waited on and they have to wait for stuff because you're taking care of sicker patients, is not going to be happy, and they're going to fill out a low score, and then your manager is going to call you on the carpet, and you're going to be disciplined for not catering to the person with the low acuity needs. This is misguided. This is an unintended consequence of the policies that your politicians have put into place when it comes to reimbursement. Because like Nurse Nacole said, sometimes what's best for the patient is not what the patient wants. And she gave some examples, and I'll give you some more examples. How about that patient that's hyponatremic and they're on a free water restriction? You got a sodium of 121. And your doctor has put you on a free water restriction, 750 cc's a day. 750 cc's a day. That's like 3 glasses of water. Three 240-ounce glasses of water for 24 hours. Plus, we're diuresing this patient. And they're thirsty because they have heart failure. And their thirst center is all messed up because of the chemical imbalance that's in their body because of the heart failure. They have inappropriate thirst, and they're begging you for water, and they're asking for water. I'm thirsty, give me some water. No, I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. And it would be irresponsible to give a patient who has a sodium of 121, who's on a free water restriction, more free water just because they're asking for it. How about the patient who is half comatose from all the narcotics you've had to give them for their pain, to the point where you have to remind them to breathe every 30 seconds. But yet they have the family member there that's telling you, oh, they're in so much pain. And when the patient can barely open their eyes, and when they do open their eyes and you ask them if they're having pain, it's a 10 out of 10, but they can barely respond to you. Guess what? If you're that patient that I have to remind to breathe, I'm not giving you any more narcotics. That would be irresponsible. To give you other pain meds requires the cooperation of your physician. I'll give you Tylenol. Probably can't give you Motrin because you're too old. Or they're worried about messing up your kidneys. Even though that's the drug, it'll probably work. Advil. That's the same thing. Motrin. You know? Ultram. The new controlled substance. I'll give you that. But if I've given you all of that and your pain's still not in control, I'm not giving you more narcotic. I'm sorry. Not if I'm reminding you to breathe every 30 seconds. How about things you have no control over? How about the patient who complains because the food sucks? You have no control over that. But yet, these unhappy patients give a bad survey, and it's the nurse who gets dinged. It's the nurse who gets called on the carpet when x-ray comes at 5 o'clock in the morning. Or the lab comes at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, guess what? The day starts early at the hospital. The reason we do x-rays at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning in labs is so that all of those results are ready to go when your team comes and makes rounds. A hospital is not a hotel. A hospital is a place where you go to get better. A hospital is a place where you go because you need the help, or you wouldn't be in the hospital. You need help to recover from your illness or your surgery. You need to be helped to achieve your maximum state of wellness. It's not Disneyland. Sometimes I think these people would be better served to have their outpatient procedure and then go to the Ramada. But the hospital is not a hotel. How many times have we said that to each other as nurses? Jesus, this hospital is not a hotel. Well, hospitals have become hotels, people. We're rated like hotels. Do me a favor. Okay, if you're watching this video, and I've done this, I put my money where my mouth is right here. Do me a favor. Write to your congressman. I hope you know who your congressman is. If you don't, find out. Write them a letter. If you don't feel like writing them a letter or an email, call them. Especially if you have a horror story that is a result of HCAHPS. Because I think that this misguided energy that's being spent in hospitals on patients' desires rather than what they need was an unintended consequence of what they intended. And they need to hear it. Please rate this video and leave a comment below. If you like this video, share it with your friends. In fact, share it with your friends even if you think it sucks. Hit the subscribe button up there and join us as a passenger on the Keep It Real RN Express. So until next time, keep it real.